Good morning and welcome back to the second part of this program. We have been speaking about the use of online meetings, online Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, the benefits, and possibly, if we have time, we'll look at some of the disadvantages as well. And I know I can recognize we have quite a number of followers, friends who I have met over the last week on my visit to Guyana. They are tuned into the program, and there are so many of you, and just to remind all our listeners, this program is going to be repeated again tonight at 10 p.m. on radio and TV Jagriti, and it is being recorded and will be posted soon after the completion of the program this morning on both YouTube and Facebook. All you need to do is to type in my name, Ramnaresh Dwarika, Addiction and Recovery, and all the programs that I have been doing over the past year is posted there on YouTube, and you can have access to it. I have dealt with so many different aspects of alcoholism and drug addiction, specifically tailored to our local situation here in Trinidad. And of course, I am available to contact if you have any further questions. And let me say at the outset, if anyone would like to access online meetings here in Trinidad, you can contact me after the program at the numbers on your screen, and I'll be only too happy to share the information with you. So coming back to, I had mentioned in the previous part of this program, the benefits of online meetings. Of course, it's overcoming geographical barriers so that you can stay here and attend a meeting anywhere in the world, any time of day, and so that it is very flexible in terms of your ability to attend or even be a member of a group. And membership is not restricted to only the physical group. You can be now a member of the physical group in your community, and you can also be a member of the online group. Now, I know when it all started, the online meeting was especially targeting the whole question of cross-infection. People were very, very cautious of going to physical meetings and sitting next to people who might be infected with the virus. That benefit still persists in that now you do not have to expose yourself to, to any kind of not only viral infection and so on, but expose yourself to any threat, danger in having to travel to and from a meeting and all of that. So that there's all the benefit. And then not only to going to the meeting, but these days with all these home invasions in Trinidad and Tobago, it, a lot of members are finding it is they are more comfortable, psychologically comfortable to stay with their family and be in the home as a source of reassurance to their wives, mothers, siblings, children, and so on, to be at home so that they don't have to, you don't have to wake up late, open the doors or the gates in the night and expose yourself to that kind of threat. So that there's that benefit as well. And then there are those people who progressively become unable to physically travel to a meeting because they are physically impaired. There are those people who now suffer with strokes or they suffer with arthritis or just generally aged or suffering other health conditions that do not permit them to go to a physical meeting. These people are able now to stay at home and fellowship with such a large community of people. And I tell you, sometimes one has to really be in that position to fully appreciate it. But I think we have the ability to empathize, put ourselves in other people's position. If they were unable to move and travel and you were bedridden, you know, and you're a person in recovery. Recovery is not only about putting down the glass and not taking the alcohol. It is much more than that because there were other things, other symptoms of addiction that had to be dealt with. The low self-esteem, the poor coping skills, the loneliness, the self-pity, all of that. And those persist. The emotional sobriety content continues for the rest of our lives. So that these people who are in recovery but unable to go to physical meeting need that contact. You know, I had a friend in the old days who would describe a situation, just an analogy that explains this to my mind. We had the crock pot, coal pot, long time that we would put coals in order to cook. And you'd have to fan it, and then the coals in the middle will start getting red and hot and giving off the heat. And he would say, if you take the reddest charcoal from in the pot and take it and put it by itself alone, it will in a few seconds become dark and stop radiating the heat. So while the others will remain red. But if you put it back, it will again start becoming red. It means that the companionship, the support is still necessary, no matter at what age, how long you've been in the fellowship. You still need that support. So that, yes, another person asks, well, do you have to attend meetings for the rest of your life? I was asked that question, and I asked the person to consider, well, how long is the rest of your life? If you could answer that, then I'd be able to say whether you need to attend. So that, again, coming back to the online meetings, there's also the reduced social anxiety of going to a physical meeting and having to not only speak about your experiences, but have people look at you there. And you can't help the way they look at you, the nonverbal communications could also deter a person from being comfortable to really speak about their experiences with alcoholism and drugs. But in their home, in the privacy of their room, where they know nobody's looking down at them. And yes, the technology allows you, if you wish to turn your video off so that people don't have to see your emotions. There are the positives in that and the negatives, of course. But I think overall, it is to the benefit. And so that the online meetings now offer a diverse meeting options. There are people who do not only have one addiction. We need to consider that. There are a lot of people who, yes, they started with alcohol, so they are alcoholics, but they went on to other drugs, cocaine, marijuana, heroin, you name it. And so, how many physical meetings you will have to go to becomes a burden. And there are people who are LGBT and have these other concerns, and they are now able to in confidence join other similar groups without having to actually leave their home. And for instance, a person in Trinidad, who might be addicted to gambling, or maybe a person of a different sexual orientation may not be able to find a group nearby or even here to help them with issues relating to that situation. But now, because of the online meetings, they can attend meetings elsewhere. The online meetings too have various types of formats. They have you have different types of meeting. Now, some physical meetings are also beginning to offer different formats like big book meetings, they call it step meetings, tradition meetings. But these are fixed according to that group's schedule, how when they want to do it. Some group wants to do it in November. But if you wanted to, you can access online now. There are groups that have speaker meetings where you have members who are very articulate and who are really the way they present their contributions, they are sought after to speak to other groups. And that is not always possible in the physical meetings because you can't really have someone travel from New York or South Africa to come and speak to your group in the physical meeting. But on the online meeting, that is just a click away, and I really want the, one of the things that AA members, one of the first things is suggested that you need to keep an open mind. In fact, the how, the word how is a mnemonic that guides AA members. The H stands for honesty. You have to be honest. The O stands for being open-minded. And that is the concept I'm appealing to. Even as we have our physical meetings here in Trinidad, AA members need to be open-minded to other things, and to my own mind, working in the trenches here, I know a lot of AA members, they have had difficulty, accepting that, look, this is also an option. Online meetings is an option. I know the AA groups, the online meetings have had to struggle with the administration, the intergroups, and the board, and all of that to get and still has not received, to my mind, the appropriate recognition and acceptance so that they could be integrated into the general body politic of Alcoholics Anonymous, although it is happening, but slowly in other places, so that the online meetings offer this, benefit. It also has the backup and support of all the other facilities that online experience offer. For instance, the online meeting they use the Zoom platform, for instance, for the meeting, but they also use the the the, the other facilities that Zoom offer, the chat on the side, the waiting room, the breakout rooms that people can now, after the meeting, they can hang around and talk to each other. And the whole administration of the meeting has become so much easier in that you have the chat group. Each online meeting has a chat group associated where members inform each other that, tonight this person would be chairing the meeting. Tonight we have a speakers meeting and we give a profile to the speaker in order to generate interest. The possibility has become limitless with the online meetings. And I don't think the physical meetings need to feel threatened, you know. And again, of course, it provided safety during the pandemic, but continues to provide safety now, a place where you can go and feel safe. Before the close of the program, I want to look at some of the disadvantages. Of course, there's the reduction in that physical personal fellowship. There's no substitute for the shake hand, the sitting and having a cup of coffee together. I mean, those things have gone a long way in the history of AA in really creating that warm atmosphere that really pervaded in the physical meetings. I have been blessed to actually attend many of these meetings and to have, shared in that fellowshipping with people that I have come to know. And so that, of course, has been to some extent compromised and sacrificed. Then the meeting, after the meeting, I know a lot of members describe, after the meeting, they'll go sit in a pizza place or coffee shop and sit down and chat. And, people will actually be, some of this now, the physical contact is not there, but yes, the after meeting chats is possible and facilitated on the online meetings. But that personal connection I mean, the online meeting is not a substitute. And I dare say that, when you sit in a meeting, I have sat in a meeting where everybody has their video turned off, it becomes very, very impersonal. You're speaking to people, but you don't know what their reaction. You're not getting that feedback from them as to whether they're laughing or they're crying or if they are really attending to you or if they just they're not there at all. You can't tell if the video is turned off, if they've gone about their own business and you speaking to a blank screen. These are some of the down so that a suggestion I think that could be considered on these online meetings. And when you're in a meeting, you know, treat it as a physical meeting. Dress appropriately, present yourself, and turn the video on so people can see you and see. Because communication is not only verbal, it is non-verbal. And a person pouring out their heart there, their emotions, would like to know, to see from the others that they are attending to what they're saying. You know, I mean, think of it. If you were speaking to someone about a serious emotional problem that is really hurting you, that you're ventilating your emotions, and they pick up a paper and reading and not paying attention to you, that would be very demeaning. And you can have those things happening in meetings. And then, of course, we have the whole question of trolls, you know, and I think the hosts of meeting have been at their wits' end to manage that. I know of other groups that have had to abandon the Zoom meeting because of the trolling, people coming into the meeting and exposing indecent pictures or even themselves, and saying very, very inappropriate, uncouth things in the meeting. So that is something that has to be contended with. And yes, there are technical challenges, I know. Even now, a lot of members of the physical fellowship, initially, I have had to actually school quite a number of people as to how to access the meetings, how to download the app, how to register online, how to register a Zoom account. And I know a lot of groups that have had problems with managing their Zoom accounts and being able to address certain features of it that gave them appropriate control. The whole question of having additional co-hosts, to assist with with the meetings and so on. And it's a new technology, I would say, and people are still learning and they're getting better. But in a way, it's an advantage. And again, I know I'm speaking about the disadvantages, but it challenges people. But so there's a lot of people who are reluctant because they just, it's very difficult to teach old dogs new tricks. So there are a lot of older people, are having difficulty and they just get turned off with this new technology. A lot of people have had to get the help of their grandchildren and children to come and turn it on, turn it off, mute them, unmute them, turn the video on, turn the video off, and the finding, and as a result, it has caused a certain level of reluctance for people to join the meeting. And then there are, of course, distractions sometimes in the meeting when people have the video on and you're seeing them doing other things, doing their chores. It takes away from you are contributing, speaking, I mean, your blood and sand, as they say in AA and NA. And another person is busy about with a video on attending to other things and so on. It doesn't make for a very good, it don't happen in a physical meeting. When you go to a physical meeting, you are there for the meeting. You're not supposed to be chatting in the back rooms, as happens sometimes in some groups, where obviously you see chats coming up on the side where people are making fun and telling jokes and giving, pointers to others and distracting from the general purpose of the meeting. And there's a very important problem, though, that a lot of people who attend the online meetings now, a lot of them are just visitors, which really is a marked difference. When you go into a physical meeting, you can elect to become a member of that group. And once you declare yourself a member, you will have to accept responsibility to help make the coffee, set up the meetings, be the secretary at some point in time, or the treasurer, or the chairman. The online meetings, to my mind, allows people to freelance. They're attending meetings all over, but they're not a member of any. And they're not making that financial contribution to keep the work of AA going on. Because in the physical meetings, a little basket, they call it a hat, is passed, and people give a contribution. The members in recovery, the members of the group, give a contribution, and that serves to help to buy literature and all the financial needs, also to be able to give a contribution to the intergroups and the board so that they can continue their work to carry the message of aid. But the online meetings, at this point, it is difficult to regulate that financial stream so that the administrative bodies of aid, the intergroups and the general service offices and so on, are now finding it very difficult to progressively, without that support, to carry the message of aid, to coordinate the work of the various groups and the committees, to hold their conventions and disseminate information and literature. So that these are something that will need to be addressed. And then, of course, with the media, there's always the question of misinformation. Now, while we have a loudspeaker in the internet where we can reach people all over the world, there's also the risk of misinformation being circulated. And that is something that has become part of media concern worldwide, not only in AA. And of course, as I mentioned, alluded to earlier on, there is still the question of a recognition of the online groups into an integration into the body politic of AA, where it is now, hopefully in the future, the online groups could come under the administration of the intergroups and the general service office. I know there is a cooperation because the online groups have assisted during the pandemic to the boards and so on to continue to have their anniversaries online, the intergroup and so on. This is something that needs to be further explored and facilitated. I know when we're having a good talk, time run out, we have reached to that point where it's just a few minutes again. And I want to remind everyone that this meeting will be posted soon after its completion on YouTube and Facebook for posterity, so that at any time you can go back to the meeting and look at. And of course, if you have comments, you can drop your comments there and I will respond to them. I also want to remind you that the program is going to be replayed again on radio and TV Jagriti at 10 p.m. tonight. Also want to express our gratitude on your behalf, all the listeners and myself, to the administration and staff of Radio and TV Jagriti, who have been providing this facility for years now, almost from the very inception, as a community service. And I want to let you know on air, not a cent is charged for this facility. A lot of revenue is really waived so that this program could be possible for all our brothers, not only in Trinidad and Tobago. I can tell you, I have listeners as far as India and United States, England. People are listening to this program and they are accessing it and they are sending their comments. And it is really serving. There are many, many people today who have benefited, saved their lives from death and destruction because of this program reaching and helping them to stop drinking and using drugs. So again, I want to thank them. I want to thank you all for listening because without you, the program is really useless. So I want to thank you and please spread the message around to all of those people who you believe can benefit. You don't have to have a drug problem to benefit from this. We are all affected by alcohol and drug use in this country. If you look around, we have had to barricade ourselves with burglar proofing, and the prisons are filled with so many people who are with drug related offenses. The hospital beds are occupied, the accidents, road traffic accidents are impacted by drinking and drug use, so that this is an essential program. And I think all of you who are listening are in some way connected or know someone who could benefit. So, again, thank you very much for listening to the program and see you again next week, Thursday. Thank you very much.